It's very interesting. It's important to understand what budget sector analysis is. This is the process of evaluating the allocations that are given to different sectors within the public service. So meeting various witnesses, it was very interesting because you have pro and at. So as people from Public Accounts Committee, we've learned a lot, and today we are submitting to the expanded budget our recommendation, so that as a team we're able to see what's the way forward for 2026 budget.
Yeah, and I were chatting that you are appearing before the expanded Planning and Budgeting Committee at 10:30, yes, and we're looking forward to seeing some submissions that we'll be making. Let me move on to the leader of the opposition in the House, and before we do that, I should also make mention that we are receiving your SMSs on 0978 772801. If you wish to be part and parcel of today's program, feel free to send in your text messages, and better still, you can also utilize our Facebook page and our YouTube page. This is the National Assembly of Zambia. Today we look at the 2026 national budget, which was proposed by the Minister of Finance. Is it rural responsive? Honorable Leader of Opposition, you were in the House when the Minister of Finance was announcing how he intend to spend the 253.1 billion come 2026. How did you receive the 2026 national budget?
First of all, from the onset, I must state that this budget is very rural responsive, especially that I'm coming from the constituency that is rural. But generally, of course, to speak as leader of opposition, it is the budget that has given the Zambian people's hopes, and my wish and hope and trust is to just, having the budget is another thing, having the funding it is another thing. I hope and trust that the Minister of Finance, we should be able to make sure that what has been proposed, it has to be actualized through the funding. You might wish to know, person, that we have had a situation with regards with the CDF especially. First, when you talk about the rural responsive, the CDF has been gradually being increased each and every year. And I think I remember when I just came in 2021, by then I was not leader of opposition, and just moving from the 1.5 million to 25, then later on 27 to 30, now 36.1 to 40 million. It's a very, very, very responsive to the rural area, because I'll tell you that the developments that have been done in rural constituencies, especially that the WDCs are the ones making decisions on what projects should be undertaken in various wards. So this is speaking to a situation where instead of central procurement, but it goes down to the wards, where the wards themselves, they are deciding of what they want to utilize that money for, as opposed to the same as the constituency. So you find that in each and every ward of the country, there's at least one project that is going on. So when you talk about the rural responsive, and you picked a very, very good topic as the rural responsive, because I think this is where things starts from. Rural responsive goes also with the issues with regards of education. We had experience for a long time, school dropouts. Now, because of, if you look in the budget, a good amount of money, 2.4 billion being allocated to the free education. I'll tell you that the rural areas now, education sector, where I'll just give you one practical example of one of the schools in Mafinga, Tendere Secondary School, which used to have, by 2021, school used to have minimum about 260 pupils. Now it is 1,800.
Okay, and I know we'll get to the education sector and some of the successes that you've scored in the previous years that you've been the area member of parliament for a rural constituency, and this is Mafinga. Let me move on to Honorable Sabao. How did the people of Jikankata receive the 253.1 billion kwacha budget that the minister intends to spend in 2026?
First, it's very important to understand that the 2026 budget gives power to the people. Just increasing CDF to 40 million, you've given the people of Jikankata the mandate to develop their own district. Like Honorable Chavinga has already mentioned, that people are able to identify their own needs. What is it that we don't have, that we want to have? Through the CDF, people are able to submit their own projects. As a CDF, ours just to approve. As we are talking right now, Jikankata, since 2020, we have more than 45 projects already implemented and commissioned. People are using them. What does it mean? That it means that people of Jikankata are able to develop their district on their own. They've been given the mandate by government, and like what we had in the past, where decisions were made at the central level, but this time power has gone to the people. And the 2026 budget, when you look at it, talk of FISIP. People of Jikankata are farmers. We depend on farming. It means that most of the people are going to benefit from FISIP. And the more FISIP we have in the constituency, it means we have higher yield of our harvest. We are contributing to the national budget, to the national basket. What does it mean? That it means that the economy of Jikankata, the economy of Zambia changes because you've given the power to the people. You talk of, if you look at the budget, there's the infrastructure, the amount which has been allocated, it's high. It means that the districts will be opened up, because where there are good roads, there is development, and Jikankata will benefit. Right now we are already benefiting as a district. You talk of Jikankata Kasam Road, the contractor is on site. And we know that through the 2026, we are still benefiting because more resources will be taken to the district. Okay. Talk of the feeder roads. We are opening up the district using the feeder roads because that's a rural constituency. But when the feeder roads are opened up, it means people like you and me, we are able to go to Jikankata and invest. Where there's a good road, which attracts investment, but when there are no roads, you don't expect people to go there and invest because nothing motivates them to go to that particular area. But through the 2026 budget and the past budgets that we've had under the new Dawn government, the rural areas have been opened up and people are going there to invest.
Okay, the leader of opposition brought in a very important aspect where he mentioned 2.4 billion kwacha has been allocated to free education program. And bringing in your constituents as Jikankata, how are you going to make sure that you tap in the 2.4 billion kwacha that the minister intends to spend towards free education? Because Zambia is a big country and we do have about 116 districts across the country, 156 constituencies. Now, how are you going to make sure that the people of Jikankata taps in the 2.4 billion kwacha for free education? Yeah,
when we talk of free education, it means that more children are going back to school. So as a people, how do we respond? As a people of Jikankata, we've been responding since 2022 by constructing more classroom blocks. We have not constructed a school in Jikankata. What we've done is to create more space for our children. After creating more space, so far as we are talking, in Jikankata, we've built 30 classroom blocks across the district. We've created space for our children. The next thing is the issue of desks. The president has said no child should sit on the floor as long as I'm a president of this country. As people of Jikankata, we've responded to that using the free education. In Jikankata, as we are talking right now, we are at 80% the supply of desks, meaning we're just remaining with 20%. Come 2026, we'll be done, we'll be at 100%, meaning that children are given an equal opportunity.
And the deadline was last year, if I remember very well, when the president made that announcement. It was in Parliament that going forward by December last year, he never wanted to see any child being on the floor in the classroom, but you're telling us that you're at 80%. Are you not behind schedule?
Yeah, we are behind schedule due to the fact that when we look at Jikankata is not Lusaka like Munari constituency where I live. It's a rural constituency and it was declared a district in 2013. By the time we were forming government, we had nothing in Jikankata. So using the CDF, we have a lot of challenges. Talk of the education sector, the health sector, the agriculture sector. All these, they need money.
Because when you talk of... Before I move on to the leader of the opposition, maybe quickly, would you maybe in a position just to share with us some of the challenges that you are facing in failing, because it's like you have not met the deadline that the president put as of December. Maybe what could be the challenges?
The challenge is that looking at the amount of CDF, it had a lot of demands. Like I said, that when we talk of desks under the education sector, but also the health sector, we're looking at the maternity annex. The women are crying. So as a people, we had to sit down. How do we share these resources so that all the sectors benefits? You talk of the agriculture sector. People of Chikankata need storage shed for their FISIP, its resources. So now we had to balance up. Okay, this is the reason why we are a bit behind, but we are almost there. Like I said, 80% is not bad.
Let me bring in the leader of opposition in the House. You brought in the aspect of free education, and you were saying you're doing very well as Mafinga constituency, being a rural constituency. But how are you going to make sure that the 2.4 billion kwacha that the minister intend to spend in 2026 towards free education, the people of Mafinga has a share?
Yeah, but before I respond to that, I just wanted to add to what my colleague Honorable Sabao alluded to with the fact, because I think the constituency has, and ours is almost similar, though despite us being very far. But what I'll tell you, I think as Mafinga, I'm trying to do the comparisons with Chikankata and Mafinga, excuse me, the challenges are very similar to what she has mentioned. So in actualization, the school desks program was first, number one, it had a lot of issues that you have to look at. Firstly, the enrollment, when there was an issue of free education, so the enrollment levels were shooting up. So as you are creating the space, and also vis-a-vis you need to be going by the desk, so you cannot plan at the same time to say this. Of course, like in Mafinga, what we did was to ask in 2021 the DEBs what was the deficit of the school desks. They mentioned by then they needed 4,500. Then they would have managed the deficit, but went further. Instead of 4,500, I instructed that we do 6,500 to have more extra. But even when we provided those 6,500 at 100%, we still had the challenges, because we were still constructing more of 1x3 classroom blocks. So which, when you construct a classroom block, it has to come full equipped with a desk. So you find that at some point you might not procure at the same time as it comes. So you procure as need arises. So I just wanted to add on a rider to what my colleague was saying. Then how do we tap in the 2.4 billion? There's an issue of, number one, you must wish to know that Mafinga is one of the district which is benefiting on 100% school feeding program. So this entails that the children just need to go to school, whether they've eaten or not eaten, they have to go to school, and they arrive there, there'll be breakfast and there'll be lunch. And so they'll be going there, even if they are hungry, they'll eat, so there'll be concentration in class. And then afterwards, because some of them, they have to move some distances and they have to be fed. So we have that now. Under that program, how are we going to benefit? We are going to benefit in the sense that we need more children to go back into school, including those dropouts, and especially when we are talking about early marriages. Before, Mafinga was one of the constituencies that really had one of the highest numbers of early marriages. Somebody just about 12, 13, because there's a dropout, they get married. Now, through this program of the free education, I'll tell you, most of the couples, I can give you 2-3 examples where we have at one school I have about 23 couples that have decided to go back to school, but they're a couple. And another place we have about 13 on secondary school. So the benefits and I are very, very being actualized, and I want to give tribute to their Royal Highnesses. You might wish to know that Mafinga, that's where the vice chairperson for the House of Chiefs, Chief Mwenewisi, that's where it comes from. So of the 3 chiefs, Mwenewisi, Mwenechifungu and Chief Miombe, they have taken a swipe against early marriages to their subordinates, and this program is working out very well by encouraging people to go back to school, because now it's free. And the levels even of certain activities of misbehavior, and that used to be the vices that used to happen, people now are busy. So you could see that development really it is starting from somewhere now. I think I want to give credit to government under the leadership of President Hakainde Hichilema for the thinking that going back to the rural, that education really, if you educate any village, that's where economics starts from. But a country without education, then you will have a problem. And this is, I think, where we are coming from. And I think at some point we neglected it, and that's where you could see that sometimes people are saying education was not making sense, because we completely forgot about it. I remember I asked one of my cousins' son who lives in the Commonwealth, and jokingly I asked, what do you want to become when you grow up? And this boy just said, I want to become a Jarabo. So I said, really? Why? Because you make money. You get the point. So I'm just giving that example. So now the drive has been shifted. If these young children in the rural areas are able to see that I need to be like Honorable Savao, I need to be like President HH, I need to be like the Speaker of the National Assembly, the Right Honorable Madam Nelly Moti, and that is the passion that every child would wish to. Okay,
still on education, I need to go back to the budget speech the minister presented 2 weeks ago, or more than 2 weeks now, because today we've only remained with a week before the committees conclude receiving submissions, and today they begin receiving recommendations from various committees. And the number that we're using, if you wish to be part and parcel of today's presentation of the 2026 post-budget analysis program, is 0978-772801, and my 2 guests that I do have is Leader of the Opposition, and this is Honorable Robert Chabinga, who is Mafinga Member of Parliament, and also I do have Jigankata Member of Parliament, Ms. Jacqueline Sabao. When the Minister of Finance was here, he did say that to improve the quality of education, government has since 2022 recruited over 42,000 teachers. This year, the minister said that the government intends to recruit additional 2,000 teachers and a further 3,500 in 2026. In addition to government will procure 1.6 million desks across the country, out of 42% were procured from their own local suppliers using CDF. Let me move on to Honorable Sabao. How did your constituency benefit from the 42,000 teachers that were recruited, and maybe also how are you going to make sure that you benefit from the 2,000 that are yet to be recruited in 2025 before the 3,500 in next year?
Persons, it's important to appreciate that before the 2022, we had a challenge in the constituency. The pupil teacher ratio was bad because we had schools which had 2 teachers, and this is a school that had grade 1 to grade 7. So now just imagine 2 teachers teaching grade 1 to 7. What would be the results? So it means that there was no quality. But under the new Dawn government, after recruiting the teachers in 2023, in Chikankata, we've received a good number of teachers. and the ratio between teacher and pupil is very good. Teachers have time to plan, because as a teacher you need to have a plan for the day. And like in the past where you had 2 teachers teaching grade 1 to 7, even if you are planning, what are you planning? You can't handle 5 classes in a day. It's impossible. Hence the quality of education had gone down in the past regimes. But with the recruitment, we've improved. Chikankata, I think we've received more than 100 teachers so far, and we expect to receive more in 2026, so that our children have a relationship with their teachers. You know, when you're in a class, the maximum should not be more than 30 pupils, because a teacher is a second parent to a child. So if they're able to talk, it improves the lives of a child, because a teacher should know the characters of his or her pupils, so that is able to guide them. But what we had in the past, it was bad. Teachers had no relationship with the pupils. Children would just go to school, they'll come back without anything, because there was no concentration. Sometimes a teacher will not even go into that class.
How many would you want from the 2,000 that are yet to be recruited just for 2025?
I can't mention a figure, but I would want more than enough.
What is more than enough for you, looking at, because you are the mother of Chikankata constituency?
Okay, I should not be selfish, since they are going to recruit 2,000. If Chikankata can be given even 150, we appreciate.
Honorable Chavinga, Leader of Opposition, looking at the 42,000 teachers that government recruited since 2022, how has your constituency benefited? And from the 2,000 that the Minister of Finance announced that they yet to recruit in 2025, how many would you want to have?
First, before I respond to how many would I want, first and foremost, I would want enough. But I think there's been the system that the Ministry of Education uses, where they need to take stock of the demand of the teachers, of which subjects are required in each and every area and each and every district. But I think that one is it's not really helping us. I think the government has to even go further, because with this free education that we're talking about, the number of students has skyrocketed. So in some areas, I'll give you practical. The school that I was referring to, maybe if I talk about Myombe Secondary School, where you have about a class of about 120 students and 1 teacher. So I think this is the sector actually I would wish that even the 2,000, and you look at the countrywide, it's a drop in a ocean. You know, when the government did lump sum the first 30,000, there was so much impact, because I think you could see that schools benefited very effectively. But there's been consistent 2,000, 3,000, of course that's 5,000. But if you were to ask me, I would need about 350 teachers, because the deficit, the numbers, I'll tell you, this is the area where schools first are very far, and when it comes to secondary schools, it's now that we're trying to put more and more infrastructure. But we want to thank the government, because now we only had one boarding school, and now we're being given 1 boarding school plus 1 day under the World Bank program. So this will absorb a lot of students. So really, if you look at it, it's a sector that we need to invest in a lot in terms of the teachers. Additionally, as well, there's recruitment which has come in, and then we have these teachers, and then we have the feeding program. The next thing is the curriculum. So on the curriculum, I noticed, I want to appreciate government, where they allocated 300 million to develop the curriculum of the country, so that it can also suit up the environment within the region, that we are able to compete with our colleagues. That is a commendable, because you cannot live in isolation as a country, land linked, and then our education system cannot, if you're going for example to South Africa, you need to be appraised, and when you go there you are not at par. And I think this government, that what has done for the actualization of the curriculum I need to give them a very serious commendation. I know they are very busy developing the curriculum, and to make sure that it's actualized by next year at full mast. So by and large, percent, this government, we can see that even when we had issues to do with the debt, but we are able to see that it has put the interest of our people, and these people are rural area people.
You've talked about the curriculum that the government has introduced. Do you think the 300 million kwacha that has been allocated to equip learners in your constituency vis-a-vis the new curriculum is enough?
50%. What you must know is, first, you need to look at the fiscal space. And for me, the recommendation I would give, the 300 million which has been allocated, it might not be enough, but for every journey there must be a step. At least we have seen that there is a commitment to the education sector and through the curriculum. But I know if they do now the 300 with a proper fiscal space as we are going, and we can see that the GDP is growing and growing, I'm sure, I'm very optimistic that we'll be able to actualize the issues even of the curriculum to be on a good base. All
right. Shortly we'll be reading your text messages on 0978772801. Better still, we'll also be reading your messages on our social media. That's the National Assembly of Zambia. My two guests that I have this morning, I do have leader of the opposition. This is Honorable Robert Chavinga, and he is Member of Parliament for Mafinga constituency, and Ms. Jacqueline Sabao, who is Chikankata Member of Parliament. 0978772801 is the number, and shortly we'll be able to read some text messages. Let me move to you, Honorable Chavinga, still on you. What concrete steps do you think government should take to address the potential risks and challenges associated with implementing budget for of this magnitude, 253.1 million kwacha?
First and foremost, the first step to start with, I want to appreciate President HH, that I think even yesterday he made a statement, I think when he was addressing his political leadership, where he, I don't know whether it's yesterday or the other day, where he was reaffirming, I think, the fight against corruption. Because to any meaningful budget to work, we must make sure that we close up the pilferage. Now, that pilferage, you know, it's very funny that many other times where the politicians were the ones who are to be blamed, but our technocrats are not there because they are the managers. So my humble appeal for the government to work effectively, because politicians cannot work in isolation. So first is to start with you and me. And this, what I mean is that for every technocrat, first in the morning when he wakes up in the morning, going for work, you must remember, I'm going for work, and I must know what I'm going to do for that particular day. And that particular day I'm being paid for. And if I'm being paid for the job that I'm supposed to do, the next thing is, why should I not be part of helping the Zambian people by actualizing the budget? And in actualizing the budget is to make sure that, number one, when we're doing the goods and service delivery, we must look at, number one, if it's procurement, how is the pricing? Is it commensurable? The second thing, how is the quality? Is it balancing up with the value for money? Number three, what is the timelines of executing this program? Remember that I think people have been crying the procurement processes, which were what, and the executive brought in the bill to Parliament, the procurement bill, to reduce the numbers, the processes, to cut certain issues. But still, people would want to prolong the issues. But this goes to the technocrats. So my humble appeal to this government is that we need to make sure that they make sure that these technocrats that have been given responsibilities to discharge the work on behalf of the Zambian people must be able to do the work according to what they have been employed for.
Well, one of your mandates in your office as leader of opposition is to provide checks and balances to the ruling party, and there is a perception that you dine with a ruling party. How are you going to make sure that the budget is prudent and transparent, being leader of opposition?
Yeah, there's been that misconception. These are the things that we sleep with, we wake up with, and it's a normal world when you are what. Unfortunately, our politics in the country have been perceived that when your friend is doing something great, you can't appreciate. When they are doing wrong, they have to be taught. And I think if you look at even when we're on the floor of the House, I think I've seen my team. The only thing that I've done as leader of opposition in my tenure is to make sure that we don't antagonize and we don't go personal character assassination. We interrogate, and if you see how our members, I rarely talk. I only talk when it matters most, but I need to give room to other members so that they're able to talk. And I think we have been able to see that checks and balances. We have been interrogating the government where they have not done well. The government has been put on their toes. But people insinuate, because you cannot. They believe in that if you are on the opposite direction, at the opposite side, you need to criticize everything that your friends are doing. No, it should not be like that. You must reach at the point where when your colleagues are doing very fine, you say yes, but however, you can do 1 or 2, 3 things. Just like in my earlier remarks, let me just finish the statement. In my earlier remarks, I stated that the issue of having the budget is a different thing, and the issue of actualizing the budget in terms of funding. And I was very categorical, and this is the situation where, especially the CDF thing, where the funding has not been very okay. So, and that's the reality, and this is the cry of each and every member of parliament in the constituencies, where people, for example, are able to apply for the IPCs, maybe equivalent to 15 million, and you are given 2 billion kwacha. We have engaged. So the only difference is that there are certain things that not always that you need to come and engage on the floor of the House. My role, and I've done so much by engaging physically with the ministry involved. So even when I saw the CDF was not all right, I went to the Treasury and sit down. Ladies and gentlemen, this is it. I think we're not doing correctly on this arrangement. So it's not always that you need to come and talk on the floor of the House, but you need to have the platforms, different avenues, different platforms. And I'll tell you, even the head of state has been engaged on the matters to say, look, people sometimes say the CDF is a hoax. But why is it that if it's a hoax, other constituencies are doing very fine, in other constituencies not working? I'll give an example. I'm opposition. The DC is from the ruling. My council chairperson is from the ruling. My CS is ruling from the executive. But how are we managing the CDF? The issue is very simple. It's me as a leader. Once I put my personal ego, my personal ego aside and concentrate on developing. I'll give you a practical example. Okay. I move from here where we are seated to Mafinga to Muyombe is exactly 1,117 kilometers. Really? You move from here all those kilometers, then you go and jog? No. So we need to make sure that why were we voted for? We were voted for development and the interest Our people, they have suffered for so many years. They've been yearning for development. So the issue is you need to work in unity. The constituencies that you are seeing that development is stagnant, and they're saying the CDF is a hoax, it is because they have this ego that they cannot collaborate with the town clerks or the council secretaries and also the DCs. And this is why you saw there was a very serious pressure when you are amending the CDF Act to include the DCs. Me, I didn't find a problem with it, because already I was working with them in collaboration.
Okay, let's bring in Honorable Sabao. On this front, I want us to look at the health sector. I know there are quite a number of construction going on. The Minister of Finance did talk about maternity annexes in various countries that are earmarked for construction in 2026. But where are we in your constituency, health facilities? I know we've talked about education. We've briefly talked about Constituency Development Fund.
When we talk of maternity annex, we are doing fine in Chikankata. You should understand also, as leaders, when you go into leadership, you go with a personal interest. I'm a woman, so I understand the importance of a maternity wing in the life of an individual. So as a female MP, I push that we need to have enough maternity annexes in our district. So far, we have 5 that we've already commissioned, and we are still constructing. So come 2026 budget, we'll do more. There's a policy direction by the President that where there's a health facility, there must be a maternity annex. There must be running water. There must be proper ablution blocks. So we are responding to that, and we are doing fine, because we understand that the first day of a life is very important. If a child is born at a very good environment, it means even the future of that child is light. And like what we saw in the past, where women were delivering maybe on the streets. Okay, in Chikankata don't have streets, so in the bush as they are going to the health center, which is 20-30 kilometers away.
Okay.
But under the new Don government, we are doing very fine. And as people of Chikankata, we are not complaining when talk of maternity annex. We are responding to that.
All right, let's get to the text messages that you've been sending on 0978772801. The number that we are using is 0978772801. We do have a few text messages that we need to read on that number. All right, this one comes from Kenneth from Chingola on the Copper Belt. In education sector, how are you going to help teachers who haven't been recruited since 2016? Thank you so much, Kenneth. I'm sure they are trying to talk about the education sector that we really touched earlier on. Government should continue working on pupil-teacher ratio. This is where we have serious problems. Kehilu Mark Jr. Kalongolo in Mungu. Thank you so much, Kehilu, for your text message. Njamba from Kaoma writes, the budget planned for 2026 is a good one because it addresses all the spheres of people's needs, especially in rural areas. The CDF will do the mandate. Thank you so much, Njamba, all the way from Kaoma. Would you want to maybe respond to how you're going to make sure that the budget, like the first text message that we received, or before you respond, maybe Honorable Chavinga, I would want you maybe to also respond to how you're doing when it comes to construction of health facilities in your constituents. Just briefly, because we've got quite a number of issues that we need to tackle, and we need to end by 9.
Yeah, first and foremost, I would like to pay tribute to the government, the UPND government under leadership of President HH. We have 2 district hospitals. We are very fortunate in the country. Now, they were constructed under our regime, the PF, but they were not operationalized. But this government, immediately they came in, one of the things that look at was to make sure that these hospitals were operationalized. So now they are operational, and we have, I can proudly say, we have state of the art. So if you're in the hospital in Mafinga, believe you me, you won't know that in Mafinga, you'll be thinking you're in South Africa, and that's the reality. And when it comes to the maternity annexes, yes, we have constructed quite a number of maternity annexes. I think you saw just some few days ago, I was handing over one of the maternity annexes, which is 40 kilometers away from from the main hospital. And you could see that the village headman, instead of actually wanting to say something, tears were just dropping. These are tears of joy that it has never happened in the history. And to furthermore, I'll tell you that these two hospitals, remember, through the CDF 2023, were one not enough. We went further because we had some change from the skills bursaries, some change. We had to buy another one. So what we have done is each of the hospitals has got a brand new, fully fitted ambulances. This is through the CDF. In addition to that, benefiting from the 120 mini hospitals, Mafinga, I think we're going to benefit too, because the two hospitals, the population is very much high. So they will have actually three, because we have three chiefdoms. So each chiefdom, the Ministry of Health have designed that each chiefdom should have one of each. So from there we're benefiting three. This is a percent. I know, even when people say, look, sometimes I dine with the ruling, you can't say thank you. It's just a saying thank you. It's not much other than opposing to anything, even when your colleagues have done very well. So to sum it up all, believe you me, on the health sector, we are really doing very, very, very fine as Mafinga.
All right, let's get to the budget speech, more especially under the health. This is page 17, where the Minister of Finance did say that since assuming office, the new Dawn administration has completed the construction of 282 health facilities nationwide, out of which 7 are level 1 hospitals, 111 mini hospitals, 13 health centers, and 131 health posts to further increase access to health services. Government has commenced under phase 2 the construction of 5 level 1 hospitals in Joma, Kawe, Monze, Solwezi, Zambezi, and 120 mini hospitals across the country. In 2026, government using the CDF will continue to construct maternity annexes across the country, and I'm sure Honorable Sabawa did talk about how her constituency is faring when it comes to these annexes. The minister has just talked about Choma, Kawe, Monze, Solwezi, Zambezi. These are the ones that will receive the level 1 hospital. When are we going to see, when are you going to push the agenda that we have a level 1 hospital in Chikankata and Mafinga constituency? Maybe let me start with the Honorable Sabawa.
I think as a member of parliament, I've written to Ministry of Health so that they can consider us. At the moment, Chikankata, we have 2 big hospitals. The Mission Hospital is not a government. We also have another hospital, Namarund Hospital, which was constructed by ZESCO. But when we look at the design of Chikankata constituency, it's like a V shape. So these 2 hospitals are at the end of the V. Meanwhile, in the middle, where we have 8 wards, we don't have a hospital. So I've written to Ministry of Health so that they can consider Chikankata to have a level 1 hospital. However, under the new Dawn under CDF, what we've done, we have a clinic called Nansenga Clinic. We've constructed a theater, a radiography, a maternity, and also a mortuary. And I've been advised that if we can increase the number of bed space, then that hospital can be a main hospital, to qualify to be a main hospital. So on our own as a people of Chikankata, we are able to come up with something. Yes, okay. But we also appeal to government that they have to consider Chikankata. However, when we talk of nurses and also teachers, when we're discussing about the education sector, it's also important that as we are doing this budget, they should also look at the issue of housing units. You know, the challenges that we have in the rural constituencies to do with the health personnel and education sector is the issue of housing units. And most of our young people, they are running away from our areas. Why? Because there is no houses. Under CDF we are trying, but it's not enough. So as we are saying that we've allocated so much to the education sector, the issue of housing units also should be considered, so that our teachers, our nurses, they are motivated where they are coming from their homes. They are able to have a comfortable life, so that as they go to the school, they are able to impact knowledge to our learners because they are happy. But when someone is coming from somewhere where they don't even have a proper shelter, it's very difficult to be motivated and impact the right knowledge to our children. Also, maybe when we talk of the health personnel, to take care of our patients, because where they are coming from, they are not happy. So as we are doing these budgets, let's also look at the people who are working for us. How are they living? I think that is very important, because I've checked on the budget. The issue of housing units in all the sectors is not coming out.
Maybe they want you to make use of the increase, enhanced 40 million kwacha CDF, because earlier on, Honorable Chavinga did talk about decentralizing, not just decision being made from central, like here in Lusaka. Maybe are you thinking of going down the local level and engage the WDC so that maybe you can tap from the CDF?
I think from the discussion earlier on, I said that Chikankata was declared a district in 2013. From 2013 to 2022, we had nothing. So we should also look at whatever you are given, you need to share. I cannot say the whole money for this year, it will go to the housing units. Meanwhile, there are other sectors that need the same resources. So that's why I'm saying it should be very clear in the budget that government is saying that under Ministry of Education, so much is going for housing units. Under Ministry of Health, so much is going to housing units, so that our workers also they are appreciated, so that when they have good housing units, they'll be motivated as they are going for work. You know, even you person, when you are coming from home, you are happy. You have a comfortable home. So even when you are working, you know that as I go back home, I will be able to sit in my sitting room, watch TV. But if someone doesn't have a housing unit where they can even put a TV, they need to have time to relax.
I'm under 3 minutes to wind up, but maybe before we do that, we'll be able to read some text messages that people have sent in. The Minister of Finance has allocated a good amount, which is about 1.4 billion kwacha, and this is to the Higher Education Loans and Scholarship Board. What criteria are we going to use to make sure that the rural constituencies also benefit? I know I've got brothers and sisters from Muyombe, I have brothers and sisters in Chikankata, but 1.4 billion kwacha is up for grab come 2026. Honorable Chavinga.
Yeah, it's up for grabs, and you must remember that being rural areas, my colleague Honorable Sabao alluded to, first we look at the performances of our pupils, but I think you must know that the rural areas now, that's when we'll be coming up with more of the students. I'll tell you, like I was touched a few days ago when I went to Mafinga and I found this brilliant, intelligent gentleman at one of the remotest schools, and he told me, look, I'm a graduate from Chalimbana, but I'm owing the school, I could not get my results. And I was really touched, and I took upon myself that I need to support, as a member of parliament, I need to support individually this gentleman. This program is very welcoming. However, our appeal to the government must be that we, as members of parliament, we need to be involved. I think if they are looking at, if they come up with how many are they going to deal with in terms of students that shall be on the bursary, then they ratio it with the portion to constituencies, so that even as members of parliament we are involved, so that we are able to pick our people from the other side. But the
would you love if this was decentralized at constituency level, where it's part of the CDF and you sit with technocrats on the ground, the DEBs and other educational authority in your various
I think actually that's a brilliant, the way we have been doing on these CDF projects, where we have a team that do their appraisals. So in the same vein, I think it being done centrally in Lusaka, it's not helping us in any way.
And the boys in your court,
it's not working out.
Seeing you moving, so making some changes.
This is what we need, that this policy, and we need to discuss about it. And we just preempted. It's one of the things that I want, when they are done with the sector budget, as it comes to the floor of the house. It's one of the things that actually I'd want to debate upon, because if we centralize this, then we'll have each and every constituency sending a student.
Let's read some text messages as we wind up. I know Honorable Sabaw, I'd also want you to comment on the 1.4 billion kwacha. I know there are brainy students in your constituency. They would want also to benefit from the 1.4 billion kwacha, which was allocated to the higher education loans and scholarship board. Let's read some of the text messages that we've been sending on 0978772801 as we wind up today's budget analysis program. All right, this one comes from Hampongo Peter in Siavonga. Let me first appreciate Mr. Chavinga for his checks and balances and reminding the government what to do without criticizing. Please talk on behalf of other constituencies which are behind in terms of development. Thank you so much, Peter, all the way from Siavonga. Another one from Mansa, that's Small. Thank you so much, Small. To be honest, free education is good, but it has come with challenges, with classes of more than 130 pupils, but few desks. Others are told to come with chitenges to sit on the floor. In Mansa, schools like Mutende, Chakopo, and Kombania, the government needs to do more in terms of teachers and the classroom blocks. Thank you so much. Honorable, people coming with chitenge there. Musanje also says, thank you very much, much MPs for the message. MPs should visit other constituencies to see the way CDF is used. An example is Kapirimposhi. Thank you so much, Munsanje, for your text message. Claudius Nalu from Lusaka saying, since 2022, we have seen the recruitment of teachers in a bit of address to pupil-teacher ratio. How far have we achieved towards achieving our goal owing to the fact that the government has been recruiting teachers? Thank you so much, Nalu, all the way from Lusaka. Those are some of the many text messages that we've received this far. Maybe as we wind up, I'll start with Honorable Sabaw, your concluding remarks, and if you wish to respond to any of the text messages that you feel like responding to, and also bear in mind the 1.4 billion kwacha.
Let me start with the 1.4
Yeah, but under just a minute, because we do have a committee that's sitting.
Mine is a light down what Honorable Chavinga has already mentioned, that this issue of bursary should be decentralized so that we have a national picture as we are giving bursaries to our children. Because at central level, you don't know who we are giving. And also the process for our children to access that is long, which has been a challenge in our rural constituencies. So if it can be decentralized so that maybe each constituency is given a certain figure, we say each constituency should have, for instance, we say 10, and the local leadership will come up with a strategy on how they'll pick those children so that every child in Zambia benefits and every constituency benefits the national cake through the university loans and bursaries. Okay. And then the issue of the teachers, is talking of the teacher pupil. I think I mentioned that you know, we should appreciate as a people that we had a challenge in the past where most of the teachers were trained, they were not employed. So when the new Dawn government came into power, they found that a lot of teachers were just at home. So we're trying to dismantle the numbers. As far as I am concerned, we are doing fine at the moment. And what people should understand, that we had people who applied in 2022 and they are checking that database. So what we've decided as a government is that we go back to those who first applied. When we are done with that, we come to those who are now graduating. The
chitenge aspect, you being a mother, ask a pupil.
And I think it's, I'm very sad to hear that, because in Mansa we have members of parliament, because Mansa has almost, is it 3 or 4 constituencies? I think members of parliament should look at that. As a member of parliament working with the CDF and the WDC, you can come up with a policy of saying, this year we'll just buy desks in our district, and like having our children sit on a chitenge, I think it's very embarrassing.
All right, but thank you so much, and for your concluding remarks. Let me move on to the leader of opposition, Honorable Chavinga.
I think my concluding remarks are that first to the Zambian people and the implementers of the national budget. This is a progressive budget, and we have to assure it that we shall, as opposition, will support it and make sure that it goes through as it comes. And then it's unfortunate that I can see that some schools where they're asking the pupils to come with their chitenges. But also, before the MP is blamed, and also I've seen this, even the DEBS office has to be blamed, because sometimes they don't make requests on prompt. I think their supervision, they need to up their games in terms of supervision, so that these members of parliament are told in advance. Because remember, making a school desk does not take one day. It has to take a bit of some days. So I think it's concerted efforts, and it's happening in the area where my members of parliament are coming from, and I think I'll pick it up to make sure that
130 pupils in a class.
Yes, 130 pupils in a class.
It's a healthy one.
It's very unhealthy. Remember, in my earlier remarks, I had indicated that we need to manage the pupil teacher ratio, and I think having 130, one teacher cannot manage. How do you teach? How do they prepare the lesson plans? How does that teacher mark? So this is an issue that we need to push in and make sure that we actualize. Lastly, I just want to wish the Zambian people that first and foremost, let's support this budget. Let's give this government time. Even when they took over the government, which had a lot of problems, and they're trying to stabilize the economy, but we can see the light at the end of the tunnel. We need to support it.
The director just tells me that we can accommodate maybe 2 or 3 text messages as we wind up quickly. Let's look at some of the text messages that you've been sending on 0978772801. And this is one text message, the message that you take home, Honorable Sabao and Honorable Chavinga. Let's see that text message. This one comes from Trevor Sikumba in Teji. I am interested on the issue of CEEC loans. Why is it only benefiting youths in provincial headquarters, yet there are people who are above 35 years and have very good project proposals? Quick response?
Yeah, the quick response to that. Remember, we're talking about the decentralization, and I think these are the matters, even the Citizen Economic Empowerment Commission and the fund itself. I think this is an issue also. I'll tell you, the Honorable Minister for Small Media has been doing very fine with the Permanent Secretary, but I think this is where the technocrats have to up the game. And please, our humble appeal, the executive, can you try by all means that even members of parliament were involved in this sector the way we're being involved into other sectors?
I'll be unfair if I won't let Honorable Sabao just to make a quick comment as well on the CEC text message.
Like Honorable Chavinga said, it's the issue of leadership, because when we talk of what provincial level, and then we have people in the district, some of them, they don't have information from the province. So if the information can go down to the district, we'll be able to help our young people in the district. But as long, and I know CEC is not even at provincial level, it's in Osaka. So it's very difficult for a young person from Chikankata to access the information. So it's important that the ministry, through the Ministry of Media, they should go down to the district, have maybe focal persons who are able to sensitize the information to the people.
All right,
yeah.
Honorable.
And then the last point, person, I would say, this budget is a developmental budget. We should also stop politicking. The challenge that we've had in this country is that whatever we see is politics. Politics will not take us anywhere. Politics should be there to facilitate the development of a country, and like destroying our country.
All right, but thank you so much. I know you had a very tight morning. You were at ZMBC in the morning, and wishing you all the best. And thank you so much for finding time and being with us and discuss national issues.
Thank you so much.
Honorable Chavinga, I know you're not an early person, but you managed to be with us this morning, and I would like to say, as parliamentary broadcasting, we're humbled to have you on this platform and just to discuss the 2026 national budget.
Point of correction, I was just joking when I said I'm actually late. I am a late person, and I'm a very early bed person, to make sure that, you know, you cannot be a national leader if you are sleeping. Time now for us, we're in gear 5. So if you sleep, you'll find that your friends have gone a step. It has been always a pleasure to be here.
Those of you that have been following us on our Facebook page, Crackson Muchende, you are watching from Pemba. Thank you so much. And we had Trenchard Lawrence Sisinka, all the way from Sinazongwe, Mamba in Southern Province, and Minister of Smart Zambian. You are watching from Central Town on the Copper Belt. Thank you so much. This has been today's post-analysis of the 2026 budget. And my two guests that I had this morning are Honorable Robert Chavinga, Member of Parliament for Mafinga constituency, and he is leader of the opposition. And I also had Miss Jacqueline Sabao, who is a Chikankata Member of Parliament. We were looking at the 2026 national budget? Is it rural responsive? I'm sure you've heard it, the plans and how they will utilize the 2026 national budget. My name is Paulson Tindobe on behalf of my sign language interpreter, that's Chola Kaum, and the entire production crew, and those of you that have been following us on our two social platforms, YouTube and the National Assembly of Zambia Facebook page, and those of you that have been with us on radio and television. We'll do this tomorrow. Thank you so much for your time. Remember, the expanded planning and budgeting committee commences sitting today at 10:30. So just gather your television and your radio set and make sure that you follow through the recommendations, the submissions that the chairpersons and their vice chairpersons of these various committees will be submitting to this committee. Keep watching and listening to Parliament.